Welcome, welcome. Have the cord in the wrong place. I can keep my phone charged and respond to comments. Okay. Hi. I am so sorry that I missed last week's live stream. I had the power went out, and obviously I can't live stream with no power. So, come on. Trying to pull up all the comments. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I know we've had some audio problems over on the YouTube side of things, so I made some changes, knock on wood, that it fixed the problem and that it's working. So we shall see. Anyway, so let me know if you can hear me okay and where you are watching from. And let's get started. So, pancakes. I love breakfast food. We often eat breakfast for dinner at my home. Breakfast foods are a staple that are pretty constant. We make normal pancakes, coconut pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes, German pancakes. We love pancakes and French toast and pretty much anything you make for breakfast. Anyway, so when I was in New York 2 summers ago with my daughter for her graduation trip, I went searching for the Instagram popular Japanese souffle pancakes, the really tall ones that are jiggly. And we tracked down a store that they were at, and we went there. We were so excited, and they weren't selling the pancakes that day. They only sold them on like 2 days of the week, and maybe the lines are too long, and so they can't do, I don't know why they only would do something that popular 2 days a week, but that's what they do. And of course, I'm a little organized, like overly organized, and so I had our trip based on like what we were doing that day and what foods we were going to see in different areas of the city, and so we weren't planning on being back in that area again, but we did it. We made a special trip on the day that they were for sure serving pancakes, and we went over and got them, and my daughter fell in love. She absolutely loved them, and she's been attempting to make them at home ever since. So, of course, I joined her in her adventure trying to help her figure out how to make these. So we've watched a lot of videos, we've read a lot of recipes, we've done a lot of experimenting, and now I'm ready to share my version of these pancakes with you. And so let's go ahead and get started. Oh man, it sounds like the audio on YouTube still isn't working. Lovely. All right, so everybody watching on YouTube, I have 4 people saying bad sound. Let me know if you're all hearing bad sound. And how about on Facebook? Let me know. In the past, Facebook audio has been okay and the YouTube one has been sketchy, so I made some changes. Let me know if the Facebook one still sounds okay, so I can keep troubleshooting. This is just so much fun. Technology, yay! I've tried everything. I've gotten new everything. I've gotten a new router. This is just so much fun. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is actually work on our eggs. So this is the bowl that I'm going to be using for the egg whites because it's copper, and egg whites react really nicely to copper bowls. And then this is the bowl that we're going to mix the rest of the pancakes in. So I have 2 eggs that we're going to separate. And you want to make sure that you don't get any yolks in your egg whites. If you get, oh, I just got some yolk in there because my yolk broke. Lovely. All right, I'm going to try to get this, oh man, I got something in my throat. This little bit of yolk out, but we might just have to start over. I think I got it. So try not to do that. That's why I use my hands for separating instead of the shells. You have a better likelihood of keeping the yolks from cracking and breaking. So I'm going to add another 2 egg whites, and this is just pasteurized egg whites. And put that aside over here, and we're going to continue to work on this bowl. You can hear me, but you can also hear static. Okay, that's really frustrating. Sorry, you guys. I will continue to work on it. So, to our egg, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. We're going to add 1 tablespoon whole milk. We're going to add half a teaspoon salt. And we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Teaspoon and a half of vanilla. And we're going to whisk this. Break that egg yolk apart. Make sure there's no clumps of anything. All right. So now we are going to sift in dry ingredients. We're going to sift in flour. Now I'm using cake flour. I've tried both, all-purpose flour and cake flour, and the all-purpose flour works just fine. The cake flour just gave it a slightly different texture that I like, but don't go out and buy cake flour just for this recipe. All-purpose flour will work just fine. Now I make my own cake flour and baking powder. And we're going to sift this in. And this is also going to help keep our pancakes fluffy and aerated. If you just pour the flour in, you'll probably get some flour chunks that can be hard to stir out. And we're going to whisk this together. And this is going to get thick. It's okay. This is the expectation. But you want to mix it until it's smooth. You don't want to have any chunks of flour. Now typically with normal pancake batter, I do want chunks. You don't want to overly stir and thin out your pancake batter, but for these and for this stage, we want this to be a nice paste. Okay. Now we're going to come back to our egg whites. Uh-oh. I'm not sure just what fell. Something fell and made a lot of noise. Okay, we're going to take some cream of tartar and add it to our egg whites. And we're going to take a whisk attachment on a hand mixer or a hand blender. Either one will work. And on low, we're going to whisk this until it's nice and foamy. All right, and now we're going to add some more sugar while whisking this slowly. is soft, right? See how it's not holding its shape? So we want to keep going. So it's starting to get much thicker. If we pull this up, the top of our peaks are still falling a little bit, so we're going to go just a little bit longer. But before I do, I'm going to scrape this down. This should still be nice and shiny. See how pretty that gloss is? And when we pull this up, the peaks don't bend over at the top anymore. They just stay up. So this is good. So just as a reminder, when whipping egg whites, you want to make sure that there's no yolk whatsoever in your egg whites. You also want to make sure that whatever bowl you're using has no grease in it. So I recommend copper first, then any type of stainless steel bowl after that, glass after that, and then this plastic would be my last choice, simply because no matter how much you clean plastic, it tends to have a little greasy film on it. So if you only have plastic, make sure that you clean it with a lot of soap and just really attack any remaining grease whatsoever in there. I'm not saying your bowls are dirty. They're not. My plastic bowls, I clean all the time, but they still just have a little bit of a film that makes it a little bit harder to get a successful meringue out of them. I like the whisk attachments, but normal beater attachments will work. They just might take slightly longer. Anyway, moving on. Now let's talk about folding in, what folding means. Now, if you watch Schitt's Creek, you might have really enjoyed that scene that they talked about it, folding in the cheese. What folding in a recipe is, it's to mix two different components of your batter or whatever you're mixing that aren't the same consistency. And you can either stir them together, but what that will do is stirring together will actually deflate the eggs, and it's a little bit harsh, where folding in ingredients like egg whites will keep them nice and fluffy. It will add the fluffiness that we took the time to whip into our egg whites into our yolk part of our batter. And then the final result, of course, is either a souffle, or in this case, souffle pancakes, or frostings or meringues and stuff like that. So you want to be gentle. So right now, this is really, really thick, and it's going to be hard to fold this light and airy component in with this much thicker component. So we're actually going to take just about a fourth of this mixture, and we are actually going to whisk it together and just kind of help these components join forces, if you will. It lightens up the yolk part of the batter that we've already worked with, and it's going to make it easier to fold in the rest of the components. So I whisk that very first time, but then I don't whisk again. So now we're going to add another fourth. And what folding in is, you cut through whatever you're folding, scrape the bottom, and bring it over. Now you don't want to squish it over as you go. Hold on, let's get the side shot. You want to let it fall. So you don't want to put this, you don't want this part of the spatula to press on top of the batter because that's also going to deflate your eggs. And you want to keep turning your bowl. All right, when you have it mostly mixed together, we're going to add another quarter. This is a very light touch. So at the end, we want this light colored but still very fluffy and airy mixture. And then you actually need to use this batter right away. This is not a batter that you can make ahead of time because every second after you mix it, it is starting to deflate. So this is ready to use. And notice I'm not like pounding the spoon against the side because that will also cause this, like, you know the rumor about not walking heavy in the kitchen when you're making a souffle because that little bit of stomp could deflate it. They're not quite as sensitive as all that, right? But they are sensitive. So I don't want to do any pounding to the bowl. I don't want to stomp around my kitchen. I want this batter to have the best chance of staying as fluffy as possible. So typically when I make pancakes, I do them on a big, huge griddle. But for these souffle pancakes, we actually want to add a little bit of water and a lid so that there can be some steam because these are going to be tall. And if we cook them at the normal temperature and just on a normal skillet, this would cook very quickly and the heat would slowly rise through the batter, but this isn't going to cook very well. And when we go to flip it, this is still going to be all wet. So by cooking it in this type of skillet, hold on, with a lid and it's deeper, right, we're going to have better luck. The other thing that we're going to do, so you want to use either a pan on the stove or a deep fry skillet like this. We're also going to cook at a much lower temperature. Now, typically 325 is known as pancake temperature, but we're going to cook these at medium low, which is 250 degrees, so low and slow. So it's going to give a chance for the whole thing to hold the heat. That low and slow heat is not going to allow the bottom of the pancakes to burn while that heat works its way up through the batter. And you're going to have a lot more success. So instead of cooking these for like minute and a half on each side, these are actually going to cook for about 5 minutes on each side. Seems like a long time, and it is, but that's where you're going to get the most success. So low and slow. This is a smaller skillet than the big one that I work with, so I'm also not going to be able to make as many at one time. So the next aspect of this is, do you use a mold or don't use a mold? So a lot of recipes out there use a ring mold like this, a metal mold, but it can be kind of tricky to get the pancake out of these. A lot of them have a thick enough batter. A lot of the recipes that I saw online have a thick enough batter that they were able to, what they do is they add some batter to the pan, let it start to cook, and then they add a little bit more batter on top once that bottom layer is cooked, and they kind of build up batter, a little bit more batter, cook a little longer, a little bit more batter. And I tried that way as well, but I found that it just kept spreading. And so the way that I also bought this bag boy. Look how huge this is. I was hoping that I could get the batter thick enough that it would hold this, but the only way I was able to get the batter that thick was actually to do a lot more egg white than yolk ratio, and ended up losing a lot of the flavor. And so I didn't like that as much. So I have ended up going with using parchment paper rings. So these, I just did them around this ring to hold the shape and tape them. And they are about 1.5 inches tall and about, I had a ruler over here, about 14 inches long. I just hold them around meringue. Sorry, I'm getting tape. The ones I ended up using are shorter than this, about just over an inch tall, like an inch and a quarter tall. I cut these too big. Anyway, and then tape them and pull them off the ring to use. So. When they come untaped. Very frustrating. Anyway, you want them to be the same thickness. Where'd the tape go? You want to make sure that they're the same height all the way around. So if you need to, you can use the ring like this to help give you a nice straight cut along the top. All right, so let's open our pan. We're going to, there we go. Going to just brush some butter on the bottom of my pan. Going to put my molds inside. Oh, seriously, the tape came off again. Hold on. Parchment and tape does not always want to go together. And then we're going to fill them up about halfway. Oh no! No! And I got the ones earlier today to work perfectly. And now, of course, they want to cause me problems. I'm going to take just a little bit of water, put the lid on. Alexa, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
All right. Now I'm going to, while that is cooking, put together a couple more rings and catch up on some comments. So, let's see. You love my hair? Thank you so much, Paige. Howdy, Nathan. Should I turn on the audio is poor? Or that? Thanks, you guys, so much for letting me know. I will keep working at it. Lita from Chicago, welcome, welcome. The recipe says 1 tablespoon whole milk. Sorry about that. I will go in there and fix that. Watching from Virginia. Hope I'm doing good. I am, Cassie. Thank you so much. You can hear me, but you can hear static. Okay. You guys, I will keep working. I promise we will get the audio fixed some way, somehow. Oh, you made the pasta carbonara and key lime pie for Valentine's. That sounds amazing. I'm glad. It was delicious. I wish I was there. That sounds like a fantastic Valentine's Day dinner, Paige. Georgianne, hi. Hi, Hi, Georgianne. I'm so glad that you made it. Oh, man. Whoop. We didn't have this one lined up correctly. There we go. Okay. It's like making meringue. Yes, 100%. How many pancakes will the batter make? That is a good question. It depends on the size that you make it. I get anywhere from 6 to 8, kind of depending on what how much batter I get in it. It's not exact. Egg whites whip up a little bit different every time. So, but anyway, that is what I have gotten. You don't want to make too big of a batch, of course, at one time because the egg whites deflate, and then that causes problems. So that is a great question. Okay, let's switch over to Facebook. Sam, hi. Margaret, hello. Sherry, you missed me. Sorry about that. I don't really have a lot of control when the power goes off or not. It was really frustrating for me too. But thanks for coming back. Cindy, hello. Welcome, welcome. Margaret, you say you can hear me just fine over on Facebook. Thank you. Texas, North Carolina. We've got people from all over today. Oh, it's good to know that the Facebook audio is good. Hi, Lisa. Watching from YouTube on your TV and the sound is bad. I wonder, any of you who are watching on YouTube and your sound is okay, could you let me know what device you're watching from? That might help if I know that the audio is good at certain things. If I try to do any audio changes, during a live, it actually will stop the whole broadcast, so that's not good. So once we start, I can't really make a lot of changes, but I can try to make it better for next time. So we'll keep watching. Darlene, hello, welcome, welcome. Okay, so it sounds like the audio is still working just fine on Facebook, so it's still a YouTube problem, obviously, and not my end of things. So I will continue to see if there's something that I can do, but it might just be out of my hands. Margaret, the hand mixer is awesome. The one you have doesn't have enough power. Yes, this is, when my last hand mixer broke, I went through 5 different mixers. This one is 400 watts. So I love it. And I still don't know how to pronounce it. DMOFWHI. But yes, it is amazing. I love it. It took me a long time to find, and I'm really happy with it. Okay. All right, let's take a look at these just so you guys can see what they look like partway through. So this is, we're actually almost done. We're at the 5-minute mark right now. Okay. So my goal is to get them all the way to the top of this so that I can just flip these over and I don't have to take the paper off. But obviously I didn't add quite enough batter to get that. So what we're going to have to do is take the outside off and flip it. So I'm actually going to, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. So I'm actually going to add a little bit more water. Alexa, set timer for 1.5 minutes. And I'm going to let it cook on this side.
30 seconds, starting now.
I'm going to let it cook on this side just a little bit longer so that when I go to peel off, so this is troubleshooting. Well, hopefully that will help. All right. Go back to answering questions. What is the name of your hand mixer? Okay, I just said that. You switched from watching on YouTube to watching on Facebook because the audio. All right, Mike, I'm so sorry. I will continue to do some research. I've tried, I was already on the settings that YouTube recommends. So I switched from, they had 2 recommended settings, so I switched from the one to the other. It sounds like we're still not having good luck. I will try another switch, see if I can get better luck next time. It's as frustrating for me, guys, as it is for you, I promise. Because obviously I put a lot of work into these and I would like the audio to be good. All right, I almost have the second set of rings done. So I'm going to say these are, I'm going to get my ruler out and measure what size I'm making these. I figured out the problem. I did want to cut them 1.5 inches, or just under 1.5 inches. I accidentally cut them all to 2.5 inches. My ruler starts at -1. I should have used a better ruler. So, yeah, my fault. So 1.5 inches is the correct one. I'm like, I swear I measured this. Alexa, stop. All right, let's switch the camera again. All right, so these are more cooked now on top. So we just want them to be cooked enough that I can take this parchment off without totally messing them up. Come on. So that I can flip them. Like I said, if you can get it so that your batter fits perfectly up to the top, you don't have to do this. You can just flip and leave that on. Try to, when you flip these, flip them gently. Again, we want to keep them as fluffy as possible. We don't want to deflate them because we flip them too hard. You also want to be careful not to get your parchment paper bent out of shape, where you will have a wonky shaped pancake. All right, we're going to add some more water again. And I'm going to cook them a little bit less since we already added a little extra time. Alexa, set timer for 3.5 minutes.
3 minutes and 30 seconds, starting now.
Okay, so I have 4 rings ready to go. We will try this one more time. In the meantime, I am going to get out some toppings. So, in New York where I got these, they served them with red bean paste fish pastries, because it was, you know, Japanese. I'm not a big fan of red bean paste. Even after living in Japan for a year, I just never got into it. But they also serve it with whipped cream and maple syrup. So I actually have some strawberries. And some of my coconut syrup. And some whipped cream. All right, so I'm going to heat up a little bit of my coconut syrup. I always make a big batch of my coconut syrup and just keep it in the fridge. Make sure this is the right one. Okay. You could also use maple syrup, or my buttermilk syrup is also really great with these. My buttermilk syrup and my coconut syrup are actually really similar. But we had coconut pancakes last week, so I made coconut syrup. Okay, let's get out cutting board and cut some strawberries. Oh man, these strawberries. Some good looking strawberries. Oh, I got a new fridge. I'm so excited. I was just thinking, ooh, these are way colder than they should be. My new fridge needs to be turned down. Pretty exciting week for me. So I'm just going to add some slices to a strawberry and then fan it out because this looks pretty on a plate. So you just want to make sure that you don't cut all the way through when you cut your slices. I stop right around here, and then you just pull and fan out like that. Okay. Oh, lovely. I way overheated that. Alexa, stop. Wow, like not pretty. All right. All right, so those are good. Now this one where it kind of got around, it spread a little bit. I'm just going to take my kitchen scissors because the paper was already like cutting into these pancakes, and that will just keep that shape for us. All right. Okay, let's go back to add some butter. I'm not sure if we're going to use all 4 of these rings. We shall see how much batter we have left. Looks like I'm only going to make 2. So 6, I was right. Okay. Alexa, set timer 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Okay, let's try this whole heat up some syrup thing one more time. Don't let me forget. Okay. All right, so here are our stacked pancakes. They have that nice jiggle to them. I had them stacked 4 high, and this one got a little squished on the side. So I would probably stick to 3 high, because look at that bottom one getting squished now from the weight of the other ones. So that's for plating purposes. And because they make 6, doing 3 and 3 on a plate works really nicely. Ooh. Okay. Did not forget the syrup this time. I'm going to change the camera angle so we can get a nice pretty shot of that final. Wipe down the counter. So we can get a pretty final shot. Okay, so spray whipped cream. Oh, come on. There we go. So in New York, they served it with a big pile of whipped cream on one side. They served it with the bean paste thing that I'm not using. And then a little cup of syrup on the side so that you could get yourself a nice slow-mo syrup shot. Stay whipped cream. I'm trying not to squish all the layers as I cut. I should just go for it though, right? Oops. All right, so here is our nice fluffy pancake. I love coconut syrup so much. All right. This other side is ready to flip. All right, so because this made it all the way to the top of the parchment, see how that's still pretty raw? I'm not going to add any extra time. I'm just going to flip that over. And try to... The parchment got a little bent, so I'm just kind of trying to reshape it so it stays a circle. Ooh, and this one, Alexa, stop. All right, there we go. Add a little bit more water. That's on. Alexa, set timer for 4 minutes.
4 minutes, starting now.
Anyway, so yeah, nice and light and fluffy. If you want to get them taller, I would just make 4 instead of 6. and just cut your parchment circles a little bit taller. So these are nice and light and fluffy. And that is the Japanese souffle pancake. And I will check for any more questions. But other than that, this is complete. The other thing that you can do is you can make your circles a little bit smaller. It's nice having a mold. It's nice having a ring that you can use to make sure you're getting all of your circles the exact same size. If I had a ring, then my next ring down is like this big. If I had one that was just, because this is 4 inches across. Yeah, this is like 3 3/4 inches. If I had a ring that was exactly 3 inches, I probably would do that. So I could still get that great height, but still get 6 so that I had 3, 3, and 3. So you can make your ring a little bit smaller. You can make your ring height a little bit different. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's the full recipe. So Margaret, you've seen these souffle pancakes. We can't wait to make them. Hope that you enjoy them. Looking good. Thank you so much, Cindy. Not really prepared. Me? I'm pretty prepared. Look good. You love having breakfast for dinner. Amen. Breakfast for dinner is the best. These look awesome. Thank you, Bite of Life. You should add Nutella inside of the pancake. You totally can. If you wanted to do that, I'd make like a little cut right here, put it in a piping bag, and squeeze it in. Hello from Barbados. Hello, Freed's Kitchen. Do you think they can be baked? It won't be the same effect and texture, right? And I wouldn't know what temperature but yes, I've never baked a pancake. That's not really, they wouldn't be a pancake anymore. It'd be something different. Is the coconut syrup recipe on your website? Yes, if you go search coconut pancakes, the coconut syrup is right there. On one of your next shows, can you do carbonara? Have I not done carbonara? I thought that I did it, but yes, if I have not done it, I will go check back. If I have not done it yet, yes, I can do carbonara. That's, I think I have a version of it on my site, but not, I didn't do it live. I think I did it edited. But anyway, yes, I can. All right, these are ready to be pulled out. All right, whoop. There we go. Let's take this ring off. So you can see by leaving the parchment paper on, it allows it to kind of hold its fluffiness a little bit better. Whoop. This one got a little misshapen. So, Alexa, stop. See how the side texture where we left the parchment on is a little bit different than where we ripped the parchment paper off mid-cooking? It also allowed it to stay a little bit taller. So if you can get it right and leave the parchment paper on, I definitely recommend it. Let's rip this apart so you can see just how light and fluffy that is inside, right? This is my favorite, when I get the batter and the ring size just right, that I get that extra height. There we go. Okay. All right, I will see you guys next week. Go ahead, like Georgianne did. If you have any requests, leave them in the comments, and I will make sure I go get to them. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great Tuesday. And hopefully everything turns off like it's